So it turns out that Lucy is a super weird, trippy, experimental action film, and to truly discuss it, you need to have major spoilers. So welcome to the spoiler review. If you want to watch my non-spoiler review, you can click here, and then of course always come back and watch this video after you've seen the movie. But if you have seen Lucy, or if you don't mind spoilers, although I have to warn you, these are going to be some major spoilers, so you very well might want to wait to watch this again until after you've seen the movie, because I think there are some elements in the film you might like to discover for yourself. Alright, still here? You've been warned. Let's go to 100%. Which, by the way, was totally ridiculous. I thought there were times in this movie that I was laughing and the rest of the audience was laughing, and I couldn't tell if we were laughing because it was awesome or it was ridiculous. And I kind of think it's because it was ridiculously awesome, or awesomely ridiculous. This movie just kind of I applaud its bravery for trying to go there, but it's like, you know, you're rooting for an underdog. You're like, you can do it, you can make the scientific connections. I'm going to pretend that this isn't totally ridiculous. Oh, you went too far, I can't pretend anymore. That was, I think, particularly as the film progressed, my mindset. I really did love the beginning of the film. As I said in my non-spoiler review, I think Lucy might very well have the best first 20 minutes of a movie ever, or one of the best first 20 minutes, and one of the worst last 20 minutes. So it's quite a journey. But one of the things that really stuck with me and really stuck in my mind was at the very end when Lucy's traveling through time and she's fast forwarding from her little desk chair, and she ends up being face to face with the first Lucy. I thought that was great, by the way. And I didn't see this coming, that they would meet, even though I should have. But Besson did a masterful job of setting it up so that it surprised you, but yet it resonated, because in your heart of hearts, you kind of expected it even without knowing it. By introducing Lucy at the beginning of the movie, the Neanderthal Lucy, the first woman, and Scarlett Johansson was the first woman of this new kind of, I guess, super species, which I wonder is where a sequel could potentially go. And based on the potential box office of this movie, we very well could be seeing a sequel to Lucy. I was curious as to how they were going to maybe set that up at the end, and I think they kind of did, even though, as I said, it got so super ridiculous. But anyway, back to Lucy meeting Lucy. That was really phenomenal. It really made the movie seem to come full circle. And then they had this reference where they reached out for each other and they reenacted, of course, the Sistine Chapel painting by Michelangelo, which had been very slyly and cleverly by Luc Besson referenced earlier in the film. So it was already in your frame of reference while watching the movie. And to swap out two men for two women, and then also, it goes even further than that, to swap out religion for science, I thought was fascinating. So right there I have to give Lucy some major points, and I really liked that about the film, and it did indeed make me think, and I liked that so much, and I thought that was so strong that I'm willing to forgive some of the ridiculousness of the film. Now, let's start off. We're going to go by characters. I think, as I've said before, that just is a format that seems to work for these spoiler reviews, to kind of give them some structure. But let's start off. I'm going to do the actors, because I felt that the character names really weren't that established outside of Lucy, and because the characters weren't that established themselves. So let's start off, though, with Scarlett Johansson. As I said in my non-spoiler review, I really applaud the risks that she's taking as an actress. And I think while the trailer didn't make this seem like that much of a risk, it seemed like a tryout for a Black Widow movie. As I said, it actually ended up being really trippy and experimental, more in line with the other work that Johansson's been doing outside of the Marvel Universe. I guess she's kind of married the two together, which could end up being a brilliant strategy. I'm very curious to see how this movie does long-term at the box office. I think there's going to be a lot of people going opening weekend, and I think a lot of bewildered people will be leaving those theaters and telling people that maybe they might want to wait to rent it. It's up to you, but it's trippy and weird. But I do feel there are a lot of similarities to her and Under the Skin, which I did not see, in full disclosure, but from what I've heard and what you guys have told me about it, they seem like they're similar performances. But she does a great job. I think her ability to portray the emotionlessness that happens to Lucy is great. And she does, by the way, as I said, the first 20 minutes of this movie are phenomenal. And Scarlett Johansson does such a good job in that hotel suite of portraying a regular girl, not someone who's like secretly kick-ass, but how a regular girl, but someone intelligent, would handle being in that situation. She was crying, she threw up, but she didn't go into hysterics and get on her hands and knees. She kept her cool as best she could because she knew that was the best way she could navigate the situation. I just thought that was all really phenomenal. And Scarlett Johansson just did a great job pulling that off. Really good. And it must have taken a long time to film which was quite a long sequence. And she had to do it all with Choi Min Sik speaking in a totally different foreign language. And she sold it. I was really impressed with that. And a big part of that scene works because of not just Luc Besson, the opening sequence, but because of Scarlett Johansson, but also Choi Min Sik. Just fantastic stuff. So I'm quickly becoming a huge Scarlett Johansson fan, and I think it's much to her credit. And we're seeing more and more ingenues do this, like Keira Knightley, where they take more control of their career, they find out roles, they don't take the roles that the Hollywood suits say, oh, well, this is what an ingenue does, and then they end up not forging a good relationship with the audience, and that's why they can disappear so easily. I think Scarlett Johansson is working very hard to make a connection with you, with me, so that we demand to see her, and then she can make her choice of projects, and she's doing that. I can't be more impressed. All right, let's move over to Morgan Freeman. As I said in my open and my non-spoiler review, the professional supporting actor. And that's what he does here, but I've never seen it taken to this pure level of pure supporting actor. He's just really there to deliver like exposition and science mumbo-jumbo talk, and then his role got truly ridiculous at the end. People were laughing when the scientists would just stand back in awe of what Lucy was doing and be like, what's she doing now? What's happening? And then Morgan Freeman would be like, oh, I think she's building a supercomputer. And I don't know why nobody was like, how do you know Morgan Freeman? This has never happened before. You just met Lucy. It just, it was just so funny. It was just like, it was almost a spoof of what Morgan Freeman usually does in a movie. And I think that was one of the aspects that made the movie just go too far into the ridiculousness toward the end. So I think Morgan Freeman didn't have much to do but be Morgan Freeman. And of course, he's very good at being Morgan Freeman. That's why he has a career doing it. But I wish, as I said in my non-spoiler review, that any of the three male roles we're about to discuss, and we're discussing Freeman right now, if any one of them had been fleshed out further, I think it might have helped some of the problems the movie had as it went along. So Morgan Freeman, he's Morgan Freeman, and I'm wondering if you guys thought it was as ridiculous as I was when he just somehow knew everything Lucy was doing. And also, when she dissolved that pen, I'm surprised someone was like, what'd you do with my pen? All right, so then Choi Min Sik. Great job. I didn't see the first Old Boy, and I never will, because the second Old Boy remake here in America, as you might recall from my review, utterly disgusted me. But of course, he is a very popular actor, and his native, I believe he's a South Korean actor, but in the Asian whole province, which is a huge box office territory now, and I think Choi Min Sik being cast here goes a long way to reaching out to that box office community. But then, of course, so he does a great job here, and I can understand why he was cast, and he's very good. He's very good in this role. I'm very curious. I'm wondering if there's extra things that you get from this movie if you watch it as someone who speaks an Asian language. For instance, when Lucy's in that cell, there's stuff written on the walls. And I was like, I wish I knew what was written on the walls. So I'd be curious, anyone who speaks that language, when you see the movie, could you fill us in on what's written in those cell walls? Because it was such an interesting choice. And also, I was wondering, Choi Min Sik, since with his lines, did Luc Besson write in that language? Or did, Choi Min Sik have to, maybe improvise a little bit when he got the gist of what Luc Besson wanted to say? But he was very believable. He was very good at being menacing, but yet also a businessman. He just really sold that role. And he wasn't over the top. I think it would be very easy to go over the top. It was almost Tarantino-esque in some ways. And I think there is maybe, now that I think about it, a Tarantino influence going on here with Luc Besson's work in this film. There's a little bit of Kill Bill-ness to it, although Kill Bill has a much stronger story structure, at least in the first half. The second half kind of also, goes to crap. So Choi Min Sik, very good. And I think this film could go much further in introducing him to American audiences and global audiences in the first Old Boy, which was really, an acquired taste, which nobody should acquire. I mean, with all due respect to those art film fans, who like the film, I just really have problems with that movie. But Choi Min Sik, great here, very well utilized. I hope this leads to more stuff for him. Then Amr Waked. Again, wonderful. You're seeing, France has a very diverse population. However, their entertainment world has not done much to comment on that and reflect that in its films. That's one of the reasons The Untouchables with Omar Sy was so successful, because it was depicting a part of France that really hadn't been acknowledged in the mainstream entertainment business. And now I think, there's also a very large Middle Eastern population in France, just as there is in the UK. So to see this reflected with the casting of Amr Waked as this police officer, he's an Egyptian actor, I think was really nice. And he did a great job. However, I felt kind of bad for him when he was objectified by Lucy, when he was like, I don't really think you need me. And I was like, I don't think she does, Amr. And then she was like, I need you to remind me of, I guess of her humanity. And then she, very unpassionately kissed him on the lips. And I was like, this just makes both of you look bad. It makes you look like a mimbo, Amr, and Lucy, it makes you look like, you just want like a mimbo to follow you around. When I was like, why don't you just say, I think it would be very helpful to have a police officer following me around to kind of cut to the chase with a lot of scenarios because I'm doing some weird stuff. And it did help out. I mean, he tried to hold that building as best he could, right? But just to imply they had some kind of weird connection, I don't know, it was a forced kind of romantic aspect they tried to push into the film, in a film that I felt didn't need it. And I thought Amr Waked could have done a lot of other cool stuff. He was very cool when they were, for instance, were bringing in all those other drug mules. I thought those were great sequences. And I was like, I've been to that airport. Oh, that's awesome. I've been through that customs line when I went to Paris. I love Paris so much. And I love that they spent a good deal of the film there. So all three male actors, great job, but they just had nothing to do but stand there next to Lucy. Luc Besson, that's the final chapter here in this spoiler review. I'm impressed with how he's pushed himself here. This is unlike anything Luc Besson has done before, and I think on some level he succeeds. It really is a work of modern art that's in the guise of an action film. And I think if you go into it with that mindset, or if you at least think of it that way in retrospect, you'll appreciate it more. I'm certainly appreciating it the more time goes by, because while I was sitting there, I was just like, what is happening? You were really going off the rails here. I guess I'll go with you because I enjoyed the first part of this movie so much. But as I said, the more I think about it and it sticks with me, I'm impressed with what Luc Besson has tried to do here. And it's always great to see a filmmaker never rest on their laurels and just make the same movie for the rest of their career and lives, but to try something new. And as I said, Luc Besson has tried something new artistically, and he's tried something new from a business perspective with this global filmmaking. You have, I believe, Taiwan, and Paris, and Berlin, and Rome, and there's another city, Berlin. Oh no, there was only 4 drug mules, I guess. Okay, so you have all those European cities, you have Asia, and then the only American element here are the 2 leads, or lead and semi-lead, with Scarlett Johansson and Morgan Freeman. And it was fascinating to watch, and I really do feel this is the future of movies. And as I said in my non-spoiler review, I'm very curious to see how Lucy's box office shakes out worldwide because of these decisions that were made. Although it might have shot itself in the foot with this modern art aspect, because I don't know what word of mouth is going to be like for this movie. But it stuck with me, and I think that alone is noteworthy. So what did you think of Lucy? This is the spoiler review, so you can spoil away in the comments. Write your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for tuning into my spoiler review. We have so much fun talking about these movies in depth, and I appreciate you guys, the spirited discussions that we have down below. And even though I don't comment or respond to all of your replies, know that I'm reading almost all of them, at least for the first couple of days. This is up like the first week or so. So thank you so much, and comment down below, and you can check out some more episodes right now.